Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Guided Mistakes. I'm your host, Jenna Allen, and today we have a very special guest, Laura Richards, and today we're going to actually talk about healing from narcissistic abuse and just bringing more awareness to it. She is a motivational speaker and an author and as well as a podcaster, so I'll let you take over.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. Yes, I'm Laura Richards, and I'm the host of the That's Where I'm At podcast, and I speak on narcissistic abuse awareness, and also in my book that I talk about my 33 years with a narcissist. And oh man, I felt alone after we got divorced, so I definitely wanted to bring awareness to others because I didn't know anything about it. Like you talk about, do you have any experience with narcissism? Because I didn't until a couple of years ago, as far as knowing what it was. Like, I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, I have been with somebody who wasn't very good to me for 3 years, and it was a mix of different things. It was also a very codependent relationship
Yeah.
and very obsessive that I thought it was love, but it wasn't.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that like I don't hate him or anything. Like I have healed from it. I wish him well. I actually
Yeah.
genuinely like want the best for him. Like
Hmm.
I've reached that level of healing, but I definitely don't have contact anymore for,
Yeah.
a variety of reasons. But yeah, I there was definitely some narcissistic behaviors that I definitely saw, but I
Yeah.
don't want to diagnose him, but I
Oh, of
there was
course.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, I do, I can
Yeah.
definitely relate. So yeah.
I just didn't know anything about it. And so that's why I talk about it so that people are aware and can, like, be aware of what's going on in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely hard to heal from too because it's like
Hmm.
you like build a life with somebody and you like
Oh,
love
yeah.
them, and then like there's this stuff too where like a lot more people are opening up about like the grief that comes with it. Like
Oh,
not
my
many people
gosh.
like talk about the grief
Yeah.
of it. You're still losing somebody that you
Yeah.
love. Yes, it might be the best decision,
Hmm.
but like we should also talk about like the grief of it is that sometimes doing what's best for you is
Yes.
hard.
It's so painful. I mean, I didn't leave after 33 years really unless I had a really good reason to, and I didn't stay for 33 years just for fun. I was building a life with somebody. I had kids and, built a life, and it was just really hard to really, I didn't know he was a narcissist and any of that. I didn't know. I just knew that there was something wrong and he was emotionally abusive. And I just didn't understand it at all. And so to leave that marriage and then be like, I'm really super sad, even though it was the right decision. And that's that cognitive dissonance. You can hold two things at once. I hate this person. I love this person. You can hold it at once. And it's something that happens throughout our life to understand. Like you can have empathy to understand why something happened, but then be like, yeah, but you shouldn't have done it. That kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's really hard, especially when you're grieving somebody who's still alive.
Yeah.
That's really
Absolutely.
painful. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you too if you've had this experience, but like I know for me when I was with that person, one of the hardest parts, and I don't know if this is talked about enough, but like
Uh-huh.
it's not just the abuse that is hard, it's watching someone you love be mentally destroyed. Like actually watching the person you love be that sick and not
Yeah.
okay. Did
Yeah.
you ever feel that way with your partner?
I just didn't really understand it at all. I just didn't understand though, like what I saw was why would he treat me so bad at
Yeah.
home and then be this other person on the outside? And so I think that's where that mental like what's your mental health there?
Yeah.
And so I'm not even going to really go near that, but other than you're seeing one thing at home and you're seeing one thing out in the world, and
Yeah.
it was so confusing. And because of the way I was brought up and different things, experiences in my life, I had that codependent behavior as well. And now, I feel like it's also almost like you're in self-preservation mode. That's what, and also, don't you feel like it's like you love this person, so you want to do everything for them and you
Yeah.
want to be in partnership with them. But what happens is when we are out of integrity with ourself, then that's when you start feeling like it's okay. Now I'm codependent and I'm not even thinking about anybody but them or
Yeah.
thinking about other people. Like we're allowed
Yeah.
to think about ourselves, but sometimes we're not brought up that way or taught that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm the type of person too that, and I do not. There's no excuse for any form of abuse, and
Yeah.
nobody deserves that at all. And I will stand firm on that for the
Yeah.
rest of my life. But I also do think that there needs to be more professional help for people that are not well.
Yeah.
You know, people need, they're like, I'm not saying it's okay, but like people that have all these like diagnoses, like, and these like disorders,
Yeah.
they need just as much support from a professional as much as the victims do.
Well,
So,
the hard part is that they don't think there's anything wrong. And
I
they don't
know.
think they're doing
Yeah.
anything wrong
And that,
because
yeah.
in everything, right? We've heard this, the first step is admitting there's a problem. They don't
Absolutely.
think there's a problem and they're telling you you're the problem. And so
Yeah.
that's why there are some self-aware narcissists on the internet and that I do follow them. And so it's interesting from their point of view, but they say it takes a lot of work. They're like, oh yeah, that's what I would have done. I know exactly why that guy did that to that girl. I know
Yeah.
exactly, but I have to like fight those demons,
Yeah.
so they don't think anything's wrong. I know with my ex, he really thought, he told me if I just changed everything, like he kept giving me things to change and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try. But it's like Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. He'd yank it away again when I
Yeah.
tried to get close to the goalpost and there was nothing I could do. I just kept trying and trying and trying and trying. And that came from me from a deep need from my childhood. You have some, maybe you have some leftover stuff in there. And I felt like I wasn't loved the way I needed to be loved. And so I was just wanted my ex-husband to love me and understand me and get me. That's what I wanted so bad. And now I see that, the way he was, if he has all the narcissistic tendencies, so he didn't care to figure me out and love me the way I needed to be loved and all that.
And that's a really hard place to be
Oh
when
yeah.
you love someone so much and you just want them to love you back. Like
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally can relate. I remember many times of me crying and begging to be loved
Isn't
properly
that
and I would just
horrible?
get yelled
Oh,
at. So
it's
yeah.
so
It
painful.
yeah.
And that's why we have to. So what I like people, well, that's what I talk about is like not just what happened, and not how you can just heal, but also you got to run towards your mental health and your value. That's the
Absolutely.
biggest thing I run towards is like I can stand just in my own. I
Yeah.
know I have value. I know
Yeah.
that I'm worthy right this very minute without having to do one thing.
Yeah.
And so when you know that, because when you don't know your value, you'll put up with anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why and you're going to be begging people to say, tell me I'm valuable. Tell me you love me. You can't get healing outside of yourself like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I wanted to touch base on something else to do with this as well is that like um like I was going to ask you about this too is
Yeah.
um do you feel like the after effects of going through that, do you feel like it's like a distortion of reality? Cuz I felt
Well,
that way for a while.
you did. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so explain that to me a little bit more. Like, what do you mean by
So
that?
this past like I would say I want to say 6 months to a year, like I've been really, really healing from previous relationships and
Okay.
therapy. And one of the things that I've realized is an after effect of the toxic relationship I had.
Mm-hmm.
I do struggle to trust people's intentions, and
Yeah.
I think that everyone's manipulating me now
Yeah.
because I'm so used to that kind of behavior.
Right.
But at the same time, I also allowed it. So then that accountability comes in, and I'm like, okay, but like, I don't want to, I still have to be accountable
Yeah.
and realize that I put up with that. So this is my consequences of what I put up with. But it's just tough because I've had to do a lot of work even now, like to
Yeah.
understand the difference between a person who's telling you the truth because they love you and someone
Right.
who's actually manipulating you. So
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
so Okay, so I have a couple things I want to say about that because I do talk about, and you kind of touched on it. So I want you to, I'm going to tell you what to do because I'm older than you. Because I want you to reframe that it's like it wasn't a consequence. Okay, this is the thing. We have to dig deep to figure out why we keep going to the circus and why we keep choosing the clowns. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's all we need to do because we don't blame for abuse, and we've said that, right? We don't blame for abuse. This was not our fault. We don't blame for being abused. But we figure out, why do we keep going to the circus and why do we keep choosing the clowns? And that comes with introspection and healing to know, I allowed this because of this. I keep allowing it because of this. So I don't believe like it's your punishment or anything like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just telling you that because I do talk about that because we don't blame. But and our part is, why do I keep going and getting the clowns?
Yeah.
You know
Figuring
what
out
I
the
mean?
root of the problem.
Yeah, so it's like, so that's the work I've been doing, inner child work, hypnosis, all those things to
Yeah.
be like, I have value right now, no matter what. I mean, I'm only 2 years out, and it's still, to me, I say only. He's off remarried and whatever. But when you're healthy, you do the inner work to look at yourself and say, like, what do I want for the future? How
Yeah.
do I want to live my life? And how did I keep showing up to the circus? That
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was when I was in therapy at the beginning, I was like, is everybody a narcissist? And she's like, no. But, you do get that where you kind of keep people at arm's length and you're like, oh no, everybody's trying to manipulate me. But those two things go hand in hand. No, not everybody's trying to manipulate you, but if the people in your life are trying to manipulate you, then we go back to the other thing. Why do I keep showing up to the circus and why do
Yeah.
I keep choosing these clowns even if they're family or whatever? Because we still need more work to do.
Yeah.
Whenever we're triggered or something else happens, it's not that we're bad people, it's that we still have another level of work to do on our healing
Absolutely.
so that we can really understand. Because I have amazing friends around me now that I don't have to worry. I can be honest and I don't have to say, like, oh, can you please not go tell so and so? Like, nobody's triangulating, nobody's like
Yeah.
backbiting. That comes with time, but that also comes with being healthy and having a healthy group of friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's so true too. And it's like finding the tools as well and like allowing time to build trust with people too, right? And that's
Yes.
what I've been doing is I'm not perfect at it, but I am just trying to give things more time and just have a little bit of faith.
Right.
Right? But
Yeah.
also, one thing that relationship taught me is I also now can recognize certain behaviors. So it's like
Yes.
I am more careful now, but I'm also just trying to find that balance, right? And like,
Yep.
understand that no, like not everyone is out to get me. I do have
Right.
people that love me. I don't. So
I
it's
totally understand because my
yeah,
therapist was like, let me talk you down off this ledge.
yeah,
Everyone is not a narcissist. I'm like, I swear to God, everyone is. But this is why I think I thought that is when I started healing, all of a sudden I started to see and be more aware of
yeah,
everybody's, negative stuff. And so then you have to decide, but this is the thing is you really don't have to have like little friendship breakups or anything. When you start to heal, because I have had a lot of friends leave my life, healed Laura doesn't make sense to people who use, because the people that don't want you to have boundaries are the people who, were that benefited from you not having boundaries. And so as you set boundaries, that's all you have to do is you set the boundaries and people go, well, I don't like that. And they're either going to push you or they're going to walk away. And you have to be okay with it. Like I'm telling you, this all goes back to you and what you think of yourself.
yeah,
That's the biggest thing. You got to work on yourself. You got to be able to wake up in the morning and look that person in the mirror and go, I'm good, even if so and so doesn't like me.
yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. I'm finally in that place that
I love it.
yeah, I've done,
Yay.
yeah, I don't, I had to, I'm a recovered codependent. So that's why I was in bad
Yeah.
relationships. 'Cause
Yeah.
I, only wanted to be with a man. And after I ended my relationships and stuff, I was like, okay, like enough is enough. I need to like do something about this. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
now I'm a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
do have that, like, attraction, right? But it's only because if we feel like the circus keeps showing up to us, it might be that attraction, but it's also because we're allowing things. And so as we get healthy, we don't allow certain things. We don't allow people to talk to us a certain way or walk all over us and talk about us behind our back. Like, who wants friends like that?
No,
And so
exactly.
there's better ones out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what has been the tools that you have found that has helped you heal from narcissistic abuse?
Well, I've always journaled, like since I was a kid, and had a little diary, right? I love journaling. And part of that is that really helps you, it can help you regulate your nervous system, which when you get out of abuse, you are dysregulated. Okay. You're going to feel like really anxious. You may have felt anxious. Actually, when you get out, you might start feeling better. But writing your thoughts, hopes, dreams, prayers, all that down, it actually helps you kind of regulate, and also it gets those thoughts out of your head. So I love journaling. I actually, my book is based on my journals from when I got divorced. And so there's a collection of like 20 journal entries, and I talk about them and what I was feeling, what happened in real time. And I like that. The other benefit to that is that you can see your progress. You can see the small wins, because there were days where it's just like, today I got out of bed and just looked in the mirror and said, great job getting out of bed. And that's all I needed. So when you're a few weeks later or a few months later, you can go back and go, oh my gosh, look, this day I just only got out of bed, but now I actually went out of the house and went to coffee or whatever. So you have to like document your little wins. I don't like it when people are like, well, I haven't really done anything. I'm like, gosh, look back. You can just look at pictures and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but journaling, I think. So journaling was the biggest one to get all my thoughts out. Therapy, and then coaching, and then really holistic life coaching as well, like doing inner child work, hypnosis, things like that, to really just dig deep and figure out why I kept choosing the clowns.
Yeah,
Like, why are
absolutely.
they in here?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, that's really cool though that you journal and stuff. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
have a whole bunch of journals, and I actually have a free journal on my website if your listeners want to go get one.
Oh
I have a
yeah, so
free journal entry, like a little journal thing that you can print. So if you want to get started today, I have a gratitude journal
I love
on my
that.
website. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So what has been your biggest lesson throughout this whole experience?
My biggest lesson is that I did not love myself enough. And we can break it down as women in America, right? In society, we've been societalized to be the good girls and don't ruffle feathers, and even in our family dynamics. And so as I started doing all the work, my biggest lesson was, if you don't love yourself enough, you're going to put up with anything. So I actually thought I had a pretty good love of myself. I was like, I like the things I do. I'm successful, whatever in my life. But man, when I got out of that marriage and started unraveling all the years of lies, I'm like, oh no, I allowed a lot of things because I actually didn't love myself. So that was probably my biggest lesson. And that this, like I have said, this isn't our fault. This isn't your fault. We were just taught wrong in many ways. Growing
Yeah.
up, we were taught wrong, to be the good girl and not ruffle feathers and stuff. And so it was learning a new lesson and learning how to be a better person in a different way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I totally relate. I
Yeah.
totally relate. I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
My biggest lesson too is like similar to yours, but
Yeah.
my biggest lesson might be actually not very a normal thing. Like not many people like I have a very unique way of thinking, I guess, but I think what I and like I don't want this to sound like I'm okay with what I went through, but
Yeah.
when I look back at that relationship, I see somebody who, like, not me, but that person, who's someone that just needs, like, someone that's, like, really struggling. And I think
Yeah.
what has helped me heal is learning forgiveness in
Yeah.
my heart for myself
Yeah.
and not holding on to that anger. And yes, for a while, it took me a long time to heal
Yeah.
from what I went through. But I think I was able to, after therapy and a lot of work, I was able to find it in my heart to forgive him. But
Yeah.
not for him, but for myself.
Yes,
And
that's important.
realizing to that that you can't control that person, but he needs to, he needs to support himself, and he needs
Yeah.
to figure out his life, and that at the end of the day, but people struggle, people
Yeah.
are human, and sometimes they do inhuman behaviors that are not
Yeah.
okay, but I mean, it's their choice, their consequence, right? And
Yes, exactly.
so and not many people can get to that place, but like, I mean, and it wasn't easy, like, believe me, I
Right.
was angry for a long time, but
Yes. And
like,
understandably,
yeah,
understandably. So I do mention this in my book because I had a hard time with forgiveness. And people were rushing me to forgive, and that was really hard for me because I was like, I'm not ready yet, but I want to
yeah,
heal. And I
yeah,
had a lot of people telling me, you have to forgive him to heal. So I'm here to tell you that forgiveness is a process.
mm-hmm.
You know this. It might not be a one and done, and especially when we've been in abuse, it's a lot more complicated. Forgiveness doesn't come as easily, even if in our head we're like, we know it's for us, but it feels wrong.
Yeah,
So a really good quote I read, and I put it in my book, was that maybe if you can't move on and or forgive and move on, maybe you can move on first and
yeah,
forgiveness comes along.
yeah,
And that's one of the things I've learned, is that I see that as a process, that I did my healing, I started to move on, and then forgiveness was coming along for the ride, because I don't hold anger to him,
yeah.
but it was a process.
For
That's
sure,
for sure.
it is a
Yeah.
hard process, and I think it's easy for us to forget that they're human too, even though it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it seems abnormal and it's not
Yeah.
okay behavior. It's still, at the end of the day, like that. Like, at the end of the day, we all have different childhoods, and sometimes, and
Yes.
I'm not saying it's an excuse, but like sometimes our childhood does
Oh yeah,
make
for
us
sure.
have, unhealthy behaviors, but at the end of the day, you can't control how someone navigates life through that. Like,
No.
you, at the end of the day, if that person is going to choose to stay in on that path, then that's on them, right? And I think, like, letting go of
Right.
that control, right? And that was another thing for me, is I
Yes.
had to let go of trying to
Hmm.
change this person. Like, all I
Yes.
can do is, pray and hope to God that he
Yeah.
gets what he needs to do for himself. But I'm not going to sit here and badmouth him. I'm not going to sit here
Yeah.
and
And
be
it's not your
mean.
job, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't your job to, like you said, to control him, those kinds of things.
yeah,
We get that codependent behavior when we think like, I can help him change, I can fix him, all that stuff, because, maybe if we're nurturers and empathetic, but that's not our job. And
yeah,
yes, you can forgive and release. You do not
yeah,
have to be in their life. You don't
yeah.
have to be part of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, for people that want to work with you, where can they find you?
I am at podcast.com. That's where all the stuff is. I do have a free journal download and my book and everything else. You can see my podcast and my videos and everything else.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a
Thanks
really good
for
conversation.
having,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah, of course.